Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest.
Hello, everybody.
And we're with The Road to Retail. On our podcast, Tracy and I hope to offer tips, insights, ideas, and examples for how small, emerging, and challenger CPG, consumer packaged goods, brands can build their business. Everything from determining if you're ready to grow, where to start, how to prove it online, or how to go about securing distribution at a national retailer, driving your business through to the end consumer, or how to go about finding an investor if you're ready for that aspect. Bottom line is we would love to help you be successful by highlighting the many important aspects of this journey to establishing and growing your brand. Tracy and I have been doing this a long time. We've made a lot of mistakes, and we've done a few good things, so we're here to help you. Please follow our podcast on iTunes or Spotify, leave us a review, and consider sharing the show with a friend or colleague that may benefit from the content. Tracy?
Bruce and I have been involved in consumer packaged goods commercial operations roles for over 30 years. We define commercial operation functions relating to sales, marketing, trade marketing, broker and distributor management, agency selection and management, new product development, brand acquisition and divestitures, and customer management. We also invite on our episodes friends and former colleagues from all aspects of the Road to Retail process to come on the show and offer their opinions and experience. Again, we encourage you to subscribe to our iTunes or Spotify channel at Road, 2 Retail.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the most recent episode of Road to Retail. And today we are on the road and we are live from New York. And we've got a great guest today, and we've got some great knowledge to share with you. So, Bruce, tell us who we have today and what we're going to talk about.
Hey, good morning, Tracy. So yesterday, folks, we were able to attend the ECRM and Retail Media IQ Founders and Innovation Day. It was an absolutely fantastic event focused upon the intersection of retailers and how they utilize emerging brands and help them, and also help the emerging brands understand what retailers, et cetera, are looking for. And we're very fortunate to be joined this morning by Wayne Bennett, who is the SVP of Retail for ECRM and RangeMe. And Wayne was really the godfather of this event yesterday. So Wayne, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Bruce. Tracy, it's great to see you, and it's always great to be in the company of the both of you fine gentlemen. So doing well, thank you.
Wow, he still must be delirious from lack of sleep with that intro. But Wayne, thank you. So why don't we dive right in, Wayne? So you and your team did such a great job. Why don't you walk the group back a little bit and talk about the genesis of the idea for this event yesterday? And then in your mind and your team, what was the objective? At the end of the day, if you were interviewing people and exit interviews, what would you hope they thought of the day?
Yeah, well, Bruce, I appreciate the question. And again, I appreciate being on the podcast. And you did say the team. And before I get into the why, I do want to just again recognize our partner with Retail Media IQ and the tremendous team of ECRM who work behind the scenes to really put this program together. Because the analogy I make, and I think this will resonate with your audience, is that, one might say it's easy to get on shelf, but it's hard to stay on shelf. And the analogy I would make in thanking my team is that, it was a fun recruiting speakers and getting people. That was the easy part. The hard part was creating such a great event that went off really flawlessly yesterday. So just a really special shout out to the partner and our team in making that happen. But to get to your question, Bruce, I talk to a lot of retailers every day in my role at ECM and RangeMe, and I hear common themes throughout, the work they do in terms of the importance and the need and the trials and tribulations of emerging brands. And for the retailers yesterday, what I try to do is go to the ones that I felt have just a tremendous degree of transparency in their approach, their accessibility in the marketplace. And the ones that I felt really, truly, are passionate about their work to do to advance the cause of brands in the marketplace. And for the brands that we were working with there, they're great people. Every one of those founders are great people. They've got great ideas, they've got great products, and they want to win and they want to succeed and they have visions and they have dreams. But, as getting on shelf in the retail environment, and you two guys know it better than anyone, it's a journey. It's not a destination. And
Right.
so, what I wanted to do yesterday was bring together some leaders who I knew, retailers who I knew would really take advantage of the platform and be accessible and provide an opportunity for the brands to not only listen and learn, but to create an environment where we had a community of content and connectivity throughout the day to not only those retailers, but to other brands and industry growth partners who can help accelerate. So that was really the purpose of the day. It was different than our normal, typical ECRM program, which we can get into later. But it was really accessing the community and the ecosystem to create Founders Innovation Day.
Well, I'll tell you this, Wayne, based on what I saw and experienced between the enthusiasm of all the presenters and the size of that crowd and the chatter during and after the event, I think you guys are going to need, like they said in Jaws, you're going to need a bigger boat. You're going to need a
Yeah,
bigger room next year because
yeah,
that was
Absolutely.
very well done.
yeah. Bruce, thank you. And listen, from your mouth to God's ears, we get a bigger room next year and we accelerate it and growth it. And Road to Retail will be there, and we'll see. Our plan on that too is we're hoping obviously to do it again, maybe two times next year, maybe in a different location, but TBD.
Great.
I wish I could tell you, but I can't tell you because I don't know quite yet. But that's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's true. So, Tracy, what did you hear from the retailers when they were talking about what they're
Yeah,
looking for from the emerging brands?
absolutely. So there was definitely an overarching theme from all the retailers that spoke yesterday. And one of the things that really stood out to me, one thing is they realized that small emerging brands are the brands that drive the growth, right? They're part of that engine that's so important. And it was great to hear how important they believe small emerging brands are to them, and that's where a lot of the growth comes from. So they talked a lot about the importance of differentiation, and we've talked, Bruce, many times about that on our show. About you've got to be different. Our little silly analogy is you cannot be the 12th brand of gluten-free cookies. So really, they drove home differentiation. The other thing they really drove home is know who your consumer is. And I think sometimes small emerging brands think they know, but maybe they don't. So I thought that was really interesting that they really drove home. And you need to be able to articulate who your consumer is very concisely and succinctly. And then you've got to have, that confidence that you can drive, consumer pull. Like Wayne just said, it's not about, there was one retailer who said, it's not a destination, it's a journey, as Wayne said. And I just think it was just great that they really talked about, starting small and growing from that, but make sure that you've got a demand plan to pull product off the shelf.
Yeah. Hey, Tracy, can I add something?
Yeah, absolutely, Wayne.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. Yesterday, we had representation of 30,000 retail doors.
Yeah,
Obviously, some of the retailers contributed more to that, but in total, there were 30,000 retail doors. And I
amazing.
just wanted to, mention, like, you can't sell as an emerging brand to all 30,000 doors because time and resources are limited. So you really have to pick and choose where you want to go, the segments you want to go after. But I also do want to mention here is like I have heard so many times where retailers want to start the brand in a digital or an e-commerce path. And if I was a founder and I was looking for the holy grail of 30,000 doors, when someone told me, well, start online, I might actually get disappointed because I want the allure or the physicality of the store.
Right.
However, what retailers tell me is that that's where they should be thinking about,
Absolutely.
initiating their brand in a digital marketplace or an online environment and manage the growth of that through that channel.
Well, and the other thing about that, Wayne, the point's a good one because we've all been doing this a long time, and it's exciting to walk into a store and see your products there on the shelf. But with the cost of doing business, of getting into the doors, and the cost of distribution and slotting fees,
Mhm.
et cetera, starting online can allow you to do some tinkering, and you might even be able to make a few mistakes, and they're a little more hidden while you work through the kinks in your plan. So, Tracy, one thing I'd like to add on the comment you made, the thing about the emerging brands driving the growth, the little picture I drew when the person made that comment was I wrote, big brands equal base business, emerging brands equal growth. So I
Good.
just thought that was my mathematic equation yesterday. So as we look on the other side of that coin, some of the things that I heard that brands are looking for in retail partners is clarity of expectation.
Ah,
If you're a
yeah,
founder and you've been in CPG, consumer packaged goods before, some of this but if you're an enthusiastic entrepreneur and you have a great
yeah,
idea and you're starting to get some traction, you know, tell me what do I need to do and how
yeah,
will I be evaluated? They don't
yeah,
understand velocities and scorecards and am I shipping? The other thing I heard was these brands, they want a retailer that's willing to take a chance. Will you bet on me? And that's a fine line because one of the other speakers said, look, this is my job. This is how I get evaluated. This is how I get compensated, promoted,
Yeah.
bonused.
yeah,
If I bet on Bruce's awesome
yeah,
company and he steps all over himself, that looks bad for me and
yeah,
it doesn't help. One of
yeah,
the retailers yesterday said, "Look, man, I don't sell air. I need product on the shelf. I can't have
Yeah.
shipping problems." And then lastly, I heard the brands asking, can you guys provide some coaching through this process? And we'll talk about some of the programs in a little bit that these retailers have, but that's what I heard. I don't know if you
yeah.
guys had any other color to add there.
Yeah, Bruce, I wanted to just add here, so one of the questions I often asked on each of these retailer panels was, can you describe the performance requirements of staying on shelf? And clearly, every one of them said, which I think is a miss for an emerging brand as they're talking to their merchant and the buyers, is establishing the scorecard, the report card. Like,
Mhm.
what do I need to do to stay on shelf? How do I have to perform? What is required? Bruce, you mentioned some of those characteristics. And I think that was a really good insight or aha moment for an emerging brand to consider because, they're excited about getting on shelf. And once they're on shelf, it's like, maybe I'm done, but like, how do I stay on shelf? Think about what I need to do to stay on that shelf and establish the report card, the performance, the alignment of the metrics required to stay on shelf. And if you're an emerging brand and you don't have time and resources to to deliver on that, then maybe what you should be doing is just be delivering on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Tracy and I interviewed one retailer from a very large retail operation, and he told us, he said, "Man, I've been in meetings when a small brand we agree to take them in, and they're literally high-fiving in the conference room, and I have to tell them, folks, the work actually starts now."
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add too on this is if I was a small emerging brand, I'm looking for retailers who have programs that I can buy into that can drive awareness. I heard one retailer said that they have like a 90-day program for brands that can get on a display and to evaluate the program. Some of them also had end caps for, so I think that's really important for a small emerging brand to look for retailers that
Yeah.
have specific programs where you can drive awareness of the brand in store.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out to Walmart on this one in that, and obviously try to play agnostic, but I do want to just give a shout out here to Walmart and a lot of work they're doing in terms of their supplier academy and supplier development roadmap as it relates to just opening up what they're doing and how brands can really best excel within that ecosystem.
Yeah.
And Amber talked about that a little bit from the supplier education and supplier academy view. It's a relatively new program, but it is a place where brands can go. I believe it's an open source
Mhm.
platform, and Walmart does a great job in making a lot of things open source, around sustainability or packaging, and now in terms of supplier development. So, just want to mention that.
Yeah, no, that's great. So speaking about the scorecard and being able to ship, Tracy, what did we learn from our new friends from Eagle Labs?
Yes.
Mm.
So Eagle Labs spoke yesterday. They're a contract manufacturer, and they really shared with the audience the process that you need to go through to choose a contract manufacturer, starting from, and I think this is so critical, know what you're looking for, right? Understand what the criteria is before you even embark on this journey. And then you can do a search. There's tons of contract manufacturers out there. You can Google them, then narrow down your list. But then I think the critical part that he spoke about yesterday was the evaluation process. Know, what are their certifications? What is their MOQ, which is minimum order quantity? Visit the site, do your due diligence. There's so many people that just choose a contract manufacturer because they're close or for various, vague reasons. Really know, what you're looking for, and then make sure that you're negotiating your terms. What are your payment terms? Again, what is your minimum order quantity? What is the timeline? Is it 12 weeks or is it 26 weeks? Those are the really critical pieces that you really need to know as you're starting to look for a contract manufacturer.
Yeah. Tracy, and again, I just wanted to publicly give a shout out to Eagle Labs and Mike Law for their support to yesterday's event and a lot of different things I know they do to support the industry growth and connectivity. So Mike's presentation was really great
Yeah.
and definitely a best in class co-manufacturer as it relates to capabilities in over the counter and skincare. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and one of the things, just to add to what Tracy said, the checklist there that he provided around performing your due diligence, this also ties into know the retailer you want to work with, because things ebb and flow. And sometimes there are certain countries that appear on lists that if there's inputs or finished goods coming from them, it can, cause a little bit of drama
Oh, yeah.
and a red flag. China from time to time is a bit of a pinata in terms of sourcing product from there. So these are other things you need to be aware of. So one of the other things that we've talked about is money, and everyone
Mm.
likes money, and you need
Show me the
money.
money.
That's right. It's a Wonderful Life. George Bailey tells Clarence the Angel money comes in pretty handy down here, even if you don't need it in heaven. So Bridge discussed a couple of very interesting ways to finance your business, and the speaker mentioned that a lot of it is dependent upon the stage of your business. So when you're a pure startup, that's one avenue you're going to go down. Then are you generating revenue? That opens a few more doors. Are you generating income? That opens more doors. He also talked about when you go to borrow money or source funding, it's very important to understand the working capital cycle of your business. Are you paid in 30 days? Are you paid in 90 days? Do you have a big customer that tends to pay late? You need to know all of these things. And another interesting point he made was, take the time to understand or work with someone who understands these various financing options that are available to you. And a final thing he said that really got my attention was the more established your business is, the less likely you will have to offer any personal guarantee against, say, your house or your personal assets. I mean, I salute all these entrepreneurs and founders that tell me things like, yeah, I put a second lien on my house. I'm like, oh my goodness. I salute you. You have way more courage than I would for that one. Wayne and Tracy, anything there on?
Yeah, the one thing that stood out to me, and I'm not sure if it was in this presentation or somebody else, one of the other speakers talked about, but cash flow and capital is the lifeblood of the brand. They said, I think they used the quote, it's the oxygen, it's your oxygen. And I thought that was really good. And I know Bruce and we see, and Wayne too, a lot of brands who this is just where they struggle. Capital is hard to get, especially when you're small and just starting out. And, investors are looking, for, brands that have proven themselves. It's just really difficult, and it's a struggle. And like you said, Bruce, I hate to see entrepreneurs who I've talked to people like, yeah, I just cashed in my 401k, or I have to sell my house, things like that. So it's difficult. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah. And guys, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go, Wayne.
No, I was just gonna also say, I know as we're talking about the show me the money topic, I just also thought it was interesting to hear from Teddy Townsend from CG Seguia Partners, just about her going through the dynamics in the relationship and the mindset of bankers and investors as they're talking to emerging brands, as they go more towards that exit strategy.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Wayne. I had a few comments here from Teddy's talk as well. So
Okay.
Teddy's with Seguia Partners. So she went through a bit of a thing. One of the questions from the audience was, "Hey, Teddy, what counsel would you give if you're starting to take money from professional investors?" And she said, check their references. Make sure these are people that you're going to want to work with for a couple of years. Make sure that your goals and hopes and dreams align with theirs, right? A lot of these investors don't want to get involved with Bruce's excellent company if his real goal is to pass it on to his children. These people are investing money to get a return. So make sure your timelines and return expectations are understood up front. She also suggested to talk to other companies in an investment group's portfolio so that you can talk to other CEOs and founders to say, hey, working with Wayne and Tracy is actually really great. They're very helpful. And then the other thing she said, which was I think is a little understated, is if you work with an investing group that is in a certain space, they probably have a hell of a network that they're going to tap you into because they want you to be successful because they've now invested money in you. And final point on Teddy's talk was understand that any kind of timeline to exit is going to take longer than you think. This is not like you decide on Tuesday, they put out a memo on Wednesday and you have like 15 offers on Friday. So this is, I think she said, from start to finish can be about 15 months. And if you have to decide whether to hire a banker like her firm too soon or too late, bet on too soon because there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's talk about the discussion that we heard yesterday from Target, from Les Spencer on their view on small emerging brands. And so one of the key points was the difference between newness and innovation. So newness is a packaging refresh, product updates, things like that. Very different than innovation, which talks about advanced product, new vehicles, things like that, the evolution and just the unmatched experience. So I thought it was really insightful of what was shared yesterday about that. And I do applaud Target for having a accelerator program for small emerging brands. I think that's a great opportunity for our audience to learn about today. Guys, you got anything?
I just thought that delineation between newness and innovation was really crisp and interesting. I'd never thought of it that way, but when I saw his slide, I thought, man, that's totally logical. And it's a mistake bigger brands make, is they seem to think that these tiny tweaks is innovation. But if I go from I don't know, an aluminum can to a tin can, who cares? I mean, that's probably a huge project inside a company, but does the consumer really view that as
Right.
innovation? And as a retailer, am I going to give you three more facings? Probably not.
Bruce,
Um,
you mean cherry vanilla is not innovation?
uh, not, not
No.
not in my book. I mean,
Okay.
it's amazing how many brands try to turn everything into Baskin Robbins, right? And then when you look at a flavor profile, usually all your money's in your top 1 to 3 flavors. So when
Yeah.
people
Uh,
get into passion fruit, this or that, I'm like, man,
yeah.
what are we
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. I
So
thought. Go ahead.
go.
No, I was just going to say, I thought Spencer Walker's presentation was great. He's a terrific individual. He brought a lot of wisdom and a lot of inspiration. I very much appreciated him being there. And interestingly enough, there were a few other Target merchants in the room that day, which,
Yeah.
we don't have to say more than that, but, which is really great to see, you know. Those merchants and Target leaning in a bit here on this topic. So yeah, no, Les Spencer was great, and I'm glad he was there. And just the framework between newness innovation is a good template for a lot of emerging brands to think about.
Yeah.
Well, and I think another shout out to you and your team, Wayne, was the fact that these retailers, I believe all of them came with more than just their one speaker. So they were committing the time and resources to attend this meeting and show the flag that emerging brands are more than a bullet on a slide in an earnings report, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
actually doing it. So
Yeah.
we talked earlier about some of the programs that
yep.
retailers offer for emerging brands, and the four that I jotted down was there's Open Call from Walmart, and Wayne can add more color to these because he understands the ins and outs. But my list was Open Call from Walmart, Accelerator from Target, Brands with Heart from 7-Eleven, and Forager from Sprouts. That's a great name, by the way. Forager from Sprouts. So, Wayne, you know a bit more. Well, you know a lot more about these programs. Do you want to offer the group any more color on these?
These are programs, conduits, channels for emerging brands to consider as they continue with their journey into retail. Many of these programs and others are managed and facilitated by ECM and RangeMe. Some are not. That's what gets me up in the morning to try to get them into the platform. But we could talk about that another time. But most of them are involved, and these retailers, leverage the path to evaluate efficiently and effectively new brand innovation, not newness, and to understand things around capability, ingredients, packaging, social media, influence following, retail readiness factors in a very efficient way. Walmart's program, I think, is now in its 11th year of open call. Next year in
Wow.
2025, will be in their new headquarters in Bentonville, which should be exciting. We just did a Brands with Heart program. I know that was very exciting with Target. Sprouts continues to lead in their forager. Brody, who kind of is involved with that and that team, and a lot of these retailers that are doing these programs, these are the ones that are seemingly growing.
Yeah.
Seemingly growing. I mean, not some others, some more so than others, but I mean, they all seem to be growing and focused in on innovation. I did want to make a shout out to to Matthew Bonovich from 7-Eleven, because I think he was so honest and so transparent in just understanding what it takes and the scope and the size and the distribution complexities of selling into a 7-Eleven. Like, I'm a founder with a beverage, like I'm salivating over 7-Eleven. But like, time out. Like, you got to really understand what it's going to take to do business in 7-Eleven. And I thought Matt was great in his transparency and his candor and really explaining that to the audience. It's not impossible. It's very possible, but just understand that it's different. And it's going to take a little bit of a different thought process and understanding how to work within that 7-Eleven distribution
Yeah,
network.
that was new news to me. I mean, you're certainly going to have to pack an overnight bag and a full lunch to do the hand-to-hand combat with 7-Eleven. But to your point, Wayne, he was transparency sometimes gets way overused in my view, but he
He was.
he
Yeah.
totally was. He all of his cards were up on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I, if I can, Bruce, Tracy, I just want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to the retailers in our industry who make themselves available to industry, right?
Yes.
And make themselves available at events like this, Founders Day events, people who come to your show and program, because that's where, the way I look at it, it's an 80-20 rule, right? 20% of the people want more information. They want more access. Well, everyone wants more access, but people want more information. 20% of them. And like Founders Day gave 20% of the people came to try, Founders Day. And it was golden.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was golden. So I just a shout out here. My comment here is a shout out to the retailers that lean into industry events, make themselves available, show up, and have conversations with people.
Yeah. Because no doubt they have other things to do, right? And are very, very busy. And to take out two or 3 days between travel and attending the event, it's a commitment on their part.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I applaud them.
Well, I mean, that's part of my comment here too, is because early December, New York City is not inexpensive. It wasn't an easy place to get to. Obviously, the tree lighting was that night, which was great for those who were able to see it. But people made the trek. People made the journey at a very busy time of the year, holiday season at the retail level, right? New York City was an expensive place to come to. Lots of things going on. People showed up. And you know what?
Yep.
I think at the end of the day, I mean, that was significant in that
Yeah.
people showed up in a full room, um, and highly engaged. And I generally judge an event by the attrition of the event throughout the day. And there was
Yes.
like no attrition.
Well,
No.
and I can also tell you, Wayne, that if you guys did not put time limits, we would still be sitting there with questions because your crowd was
No.
highly, highly
No
engaged.
doubt. What I
Yeah.
applaud, Wayne, is the sense of community I saw yesterday. People were engaging with other people they didn't know, and everybody was willing to help each other. Right?
Yeah.
No one was trying to step on anybody. I was able to make some connections with some buyers who were happy to give me their card, for future episodes. So I do applaud that. Applaud that.
Yeah.
It was just I
Yeah.
really felt the sense of community yesterday, where
Yeah.
everybody was trying to learn from each other and from the speakers.
Yeah, and Bruce, you asked me originally why, and you guys know me a long time. And for me, what I thrive on personally is the ability to create content, community, and conversation. I mean, that's something I've been doing for a long time, and even you guys know me from my past life, and that's what I like to do. And I'm just so happy that that's what happened yesterday.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, let's talk about one of the things that was definitely resonated yesterday, and there were a couple of the retailers that were very transparent about this. CVS was one of those about, you probably don't want to go into 5,000 to 7,000 stores right off the bat. So I think
Yeah.
it's really important for, brands to think about what retailer do I really want to go into? How do I evaluate that? A couple of things you can think about. One is, do I just want to start in my region? We heard from Wakefern yesterday. So that's a regional grocery player, right? Or do
Yeah.
you want to go into,
Yeah. Yeah.
start out in 500 Walmarts or 150 Targets? Don't take
Yeah.
on, 4,000 Walmarts and 2,000
Yeah.
Targets right out of the gate. So I was really refreshed that retailers really talked a lot about that, about, the mistakes that you can make and don't bite off more than you can more than you can chew.
Yeah.
And also
Yeah.
make sure that this goes back to one of our first conversations about knowing your consumer. We talk about
Yeah.
if you have a high-end skincare, you probably don't want to go to Dollar General. So
Yeah.
just things to think about. I know, Bruce, you've got some
Yeah,
thoughts on
that's
that.
been the last point Tracy made is the one that always sticks in my mind. You have to make sure that the demographic match of your brand or product is equivalent to the profile of the shopper where you're going. People also sometimes dismiss the power of play to your strength in your home region. If you're a New England born brand, project out from New England. We've seen brands make mistakes because they'll get a meeting with, I'm making this up, Fry's and out west. And it's like, well, why do you want to do that? You're a New England based brand. It's like, well, they gave me a meeting. Well, their job is to give people meetings, and you obviously raise some interest, but can you win? If you make your product in New England, you're going to ship it all the way to Fry's, and how are you going to drive demand out there? Which gets back to Wayne's comment. Getting on the shelf is part of the battle, staying on the shelf. So maybe you got on the shelf, but your staying on the shelf potential to win is pretty
Yeah.
low.
Hey guys, I just if I could, I just wanted to get back to the other topic for just 1 minute because you guys hear me?
Yeah.
We're okay.
Okay. Yeah. So Bruce, you mentioned Wakefern, and again, I think the Wakefern's fireside chat with Patrick Mooney was really solid. And again, another example of a retailer who has become just very pronounced within the industry. I actually think he was recognized in the evening event last evening for one who has made a difference. And just their commitment. And what my point here is that is another retailer that has focused in on emerging and local brands with another type of program, as we've talked about in the previous section. I do want to give them a shout out in terms of that, and also GNC. They have done work similar to some of the programs we've listed. The GNC, I think it's called Accelerate Program, where they make emerging brand innovation core to some programming that they do, and certainly Roberta Towns showed up, and she's another passionate individual. So I don't want to forget them too. You mentioned Wakefern, and those retailers too have similar types of programs as we stated in the earlier section.
Good point.
Well, I'm waiting for the proprietary Springsteen energy bar launched only at Wakefern. Thank God the boss is still rocking. So
Yeah.
Wayne, as we head toward home plate here, I'd ask, can you give us a couple of closing comments on the show, and then why don't you talk a little bit more about ECRM and RangeMe and how this event may play into your emerging capabilities or focus on smaller brands. Talk about the schedule coming up in 2025 as we're about to turn the page. So the floor is yours.
Well, Tracy and Bruce, again, I appreciate you inviting me on today, the morning after. I'm not hungover, so it's the morning after. But again, I thank you for that, and I appreciate what you guys are doing on the road to retail. I know it's been a passion and a journey of you guys for a while. I know early on we were doing some things. If you guys remember, I don't even remember what it was called, Chat House or
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse, and certainly it's come a long way. You guys were pioneers, right? On the road to retail, and it's come a long way. But we were talking about the retailer programmings like the Open Call or the Brands with Heart. I just want to let everyone know on the RangeMe platform, we publish retailer opportunities. We have a vast connectivity to the retail marketplace. ECRM has been around for 30 years. We have teams talking to buyers and merchants every day. And if you're an emerging brand, you may not have the visibility and the insight to all these kind of detailed category-specific opportunities. And so that is the role that RangeMe plays, is that we're providing a facilitation between brands and retailers to help emerging brands learn and apply to opportunities that retailers are keenly interested at that particular time, whether it's a white space need, an innovation need, a category trending need, a line review need. So that's where RangeMe really comes into play. And I will tell you, the acceleration of those opportunities in 2025 and beyond are going to scale. As you guys know, ECRM took a hiatus for in person because there was something called COVID that came in. And when the world shut down, ECRM virtual was really the only game in town. Sometimes I think we don't get enough credit for that, to keep the fluidity of buying and selling going. But we did it. And now everything we do right now is back in person. There are times we will use virtual, but it is entirely back in person. And I will tell you that there are going to be additional opportunities for wider scale content at our ECRM sessions. Things like our Innovate X grocery program in February that we're partnering with MPG on. We're doing some work around GLP-1 retail wellness symposium. We're going to be doing some additional thought leadership around own brands. And guys, if you have ideas for content and bigger scale, I know we've talked about it. We're certainly welcome to address that because, I think the three of us are content wonks and we understand the importance of content and so totally open to that. But the major call out here is ECRM is open for business, all back in person. And let me tell you, if yesterday is any indication of the power of being back in person, with about 80 programs that we host every year, right? 2025 for ECRM should be a pretty good year. My fingers are crossed.
Yeah,
Oh, I know it's going to be.
well, just to build off of Wayne's comment, so in prior positions I've held, the in-person ECRM shows are a
Programs,
great are a,
programs,
programs. I'm sorry,
program. No one
programs.
needs to go to another show. You need to go to a program.
All right, a program.
Okay.
I went to the programs, even though I might have thought they were shows. But anyway, the good news was when I was involved in companies that acquired brands, or if we truly had innovation, we utilized ECRM and their programs to really kind of accelerate getting the news out that there was a new owner of this brand and it was us, or here is our, new innovation, real innovation, going back to the target definitions. And it was just a great way to really kind of sharpen your blade and get a ton of presentations out there at once, right? And then you still have to go through the tried and true, but that's a great way to plant that seed and get retailers interested and calling you because you had your session with them, it went well, you showed well, they think you have something that's interesting and can help build their business. And it's just a very effective way to cover a lot of ground in a couple of days.
Yeah. And Bruce, I recognize that. And, listen, the place and the role of ECRM is not for every brand,
Right.
but for the right cohort of brands, and there's a lot of them, it is a phenomenal, efficient, wonderful place to launch and accelerate your brand. And for the last 30 years, I haven't been involved with ECRM directly for the last 30 years, but I think everyone on this call knows that there are so many brands that have leveraged ECRM in their journey and acceleration into the retail marketplace.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
No doubt.
So Wayne, how do people get in touch with you to learn more about ECRM, RangeMe, and everything that you're doing, or to personally contact you maybe if they have questions about their brand and where you might be able to direct them for help?
I'm happy to help anyone. I love, just like you guys, talking about this business. If I have a connection or someone I can help you with, I'm more happy to do that. I think, Bruce, the best place is just go to LinkedIn. Wayne Bennett. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I love the platform. I wish I would have thought of it, but I'm there on LinkedIn. You can message me on LinkedIn. Email wayne.bennett@rangeme.com. You can reach Bruce and Tracy to reach me. I'm here to help, and yeah.
Well, Wayne, before we roll into the big finish, just want to thank you once again, you and your team and your sponsors and all the people that you brought there. It was a fantastic show. And those things take a lot of work because anyone who's ever been involved with a live event, there is not time to call a meeting and figure it out tomorrow. It is all live, and you got to figure it out. And I'm sure there were bumps, but to an attendee like me, I didn't see them. So congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, Tracy, bring us home, baby.
Absolutely, Bruce and Wayne, great session today. Love being on the road live from New York, and Thanks for joining us today. And please follow us on our Apple and Spotify channels at Road, the number 2 Retail, and also on LinkedIn, and look for this episode to be published soon. So thanks, guys, and have a great day.
Good luck out there.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes.